I've been doing what I do for quite a while now, and after spending hundreds of hours researching various companies, I've noticed that most of them are shamelessly predictable. But every so often, a developer manages to come out of nowhere and genuinely surprise me. The most recent one to do this is Bosskey Productions with their new game Radical Heights. For those of you who don't know, these are the guys behind Lawbreakers, a game that I was fortunate enough to play with other people, because they really fucked up, man. I mean, nobody wanted this game. First of all, they originally stated that Lawbreakers would be free to play, and then said, oh, never mind, we're slapping a $30 price tag on it. So that alone is enough to bury a game in the dirt. Lawbreakers ended up being a huge flop, with some of the worst release numbers I have ever seen. And I felt bad, I really just wanted to buy the game out of pity. But by that time, the player base was already down to like 100 concurrent players, and let's face it, there were definitely other games to play. I do have to say that I maintained a certain level of respect for this company though. They were really putting their best foot forward, offering a fantastic shooter that looked beautiful, with an interesting movement mechanic and fairly balanced melee system. It even had a consistent spread pattern for shotguns, which is an idea that I think should be implemented into more games. I really can't praise that choice enough. This is a team with humor and originality, and it's just that everyone was more interested in other types of games at the time. But after Lawbreakers' release, a simple solution was presented. Just make the game free to play. Bigger companies have done it with more expensive games, and there's no real reason to keep the price tag on Lawbreakers, seeing as how right now, there's not even enough people playing to make a full match. So why not roll the dice and give it to people for free? It would at least jumpstart the player base. No one would even be mad. In fact, the people that bought the game would be thrilled, because that would mean they finally have people to play with. I mean, this got to the point where even Nexon backed out and was like, nah, we're not funding this game anymore. Well, that's when Bosskey went silent for a while. Months went by until they came out with a statement on April 5th of 2018, stating that they were well aware that making Lawbreakers free to play was in fact a logical decision to make. But they're not gonna do it yet, because it would take publishing planning and resources, which I totally get. I mean, that's true, it's a completely different marketing model, they gotta find a way to still help the game break even. Lots of stuff to be thinking about when doing something that drastic. But plot twist, they found time to make a whole new game. So my first question was, well, if they don't have resources to make a game free to play, then how the fuck do they make a whole new game? And the answer that I found is that Lawbreakers just isn't a priority anymore. Yeah, they could word it any way they want, but they would rather burn that game to the ground and start over with a new project. And honestly, I can't really blame them. It's just sad to see that chapter end for Lawbreakers the way it did. But I thought, hey, maybe this Radical Heights game, it could be great when it comes out. Seeing as how it is in fact a passion project of theirs, hopefully this game could be even more unique and full of innovation than Lawbreakers ever was. Well, Bosskey didn't fuck around, because Radical Heights came out just a few days later. Yep, no marketing, barely a warning whatsoever. The game dropped not even a week after the public statement announcing that game. And what is Radical Heights, you might ask? What game could they be so passionate about that they're actively neglecting their fully polished IP to create? It's a free-to-play, third-person, battle royale game. Remember how I was praising Bosskey for really putting their best foot forward with Lawbreakers? Well, they did the exact opposite with this game. This is not a good first impression. And don't give me all this bullshit like, but Mr. Narrator, it's in really early development. No, that is a trash level excuse. If they think it's good enough to show people, then the game is definitely open for criticism. They start the whole game with the scrolling message telling you to embrace the jank. This game is full of bugs and glitches. I mean, in this state, Radical Heights is borderline unplayable. There are invisible walls that make absolutely no sense. You'll often find yourself falling in place if you go near any rock. But honestly, that isn't as bad as you think, seeing as how you take no fall damage. In fact, when you skydive in the beginning of the match, you don't even have a parachute. You just fly at terminal velocity, hitting your face into concrete. This is by no means a game to be taken serious. It's just completely riddled with flaws. It feels like an April Fool's Day joke, but holy shit, there is fun to be had. If you play this game, please play it with friends. I was done, alright? I had the script written and everything, and I wasn't even going to play duo queue because the buddy system was completely busted. At first, it wouldn't even let me add anyone, and even when I did, it would say they're offline. But then planets aligned in a solar system galaxies away, which allowed me to finally get into a party. And let me say that that is a completely different experience. We tore this game apart, dissecting every little detail. It started off with just, constantly talking shit, making lists of complaints, and overall ridiculing everything about Radical Heights. But as time went on, we started to find our own fun in the game, mainly by exploiting the physics with the bicycle, because that thing is just so broken. If you're at any type of incline, you'll catch massive air, and since you take no fall damage, you could just hop on and off the bike while it's going full speed. Dodge rolls are fun too, because you can roll in the air, and once you harness the jank of your momentum, you realize that you have actually a bunch of movement options. And that's really useful against other players in a gunfight. And on top of that, even though the game overall runs completely terribly, it has a bunch of game-breaking glitches, it's horribly optimized, but you'll realize that the gunfighting is actually pretty well done. And what started as a couple matches with a friend turned into a 5-hour session, at the start of which I never wanted to play the game again. But we were in fact able to embrace the jank, and we found the charm that the game had, along with some of the passion that the developers had for it. And in all honesty, even though I found most of my fun exploiting this game, Radical Heights does have genuine potential as a working product. There's even this interesting bank account system that lets you transfer money from match to match, but that comes with a huge problem of people saving all their money for one match to have a huge early game advantage. And Bosskey Productions even had a promotion where if you bought the Founders Pack, you would end up having 10% more money. Fortunately, the brand new community threw a fit and saw right through that blatant strategy to give paying players a deliberate advantage. So they decided to get rid of that completely. But here's the kicker, with all of the things wrong with this game right now, one thing works properly and perfectly, and that's the cash shop. It's almost like it was the first thing they implemented. Obviously, some planning and resources went into that, but at the end of the day, I don't hate these guys for trying to make money. They deserve something for the hard work that they put in. If not for this game, then for the unfortunate release of Lawbreakers. But let me ask you this, what happens if they don't get the money for Radical Heights? I really doubt that Bosskey has the funding to finish this game without support, and they are definitely ambitious with this quote-unquote passion project, because at best they're planning to directly compete with other Battle Royale games, which is a monumental task, especially seeing as how half the players in every match are bots, and you could tell because the AI is so bad that you could just run around them and they won't shoot you unless you shoot them first. One thing is obvious though, and that is that Bosskey is terrible at marketing. There was no build up to this game, no promoting whatsoever, and they announce it in the same statement saying that they don't have resources to help another game survive, which makes it seem like this company is really great at making games, but is downright negligent when it comes to maintaining them. Now that I think about it, Bosskey's best promotional tool is when Cliffy B gets into arguments with guys from his old job at Epic Games. At the moment, he's accusing them of stealing employees, and I'm not entirely sure that's unwarranted, seeing as how the other co-founder of Bosskey left to go back to Epic Games as well, to which Cliffy B responded with this Twitter post, "Wait a minute, he's got a heavy heart. Holy shit, he's just practicing for when he shuts Lawbreakers down." Anyway, I'm not entirely sure if Radical Heights will be able to compete in this type of market, and in fact, I think the real project that Bosskey is passionate about is saying fuck you and throwing a huge middle finger up to the types of games that became vastly more popular. I mean, they were ready and willing to hop on the new trend as fast as they possibly could, but it's probably already too late. And part of me hopes they succeed, but another part of me has lost all trust in Bosskey Productions. But the rest of me wants to know your opinion on Radical Heights. Do you think it's a passionate and original idea, or do you think it's just a cash grab to cut their losses? Please leave a comment below. If you enjoy me talking about various topics in video games such as this one, then feel free to subscribe. If you're a fan of the Games You Might Remember series, we got more of that coming soon, TM. And if you want to give me feedback or have a personal conversation with me, the easiest way to do that is by joining the Daily Quest Discord. There will be a link in the description. Peace out.